Hello, and welcome to another episode 20 actually, of Memory and Engagement Opportunity for Wellness. My name is Michelle Hobb, and I'm a speech language pathologist and the leader for the Meadowlark Special Programs. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll enjoy our session today. The purpose of this opportunity is to do some engagement and some attending. Both of these tasks allow us to work on our memory as well as our concentration. We will also do some reviewing of things we've learned in previous weeks. We'll do a little bit of moving, which we haven't done in a while, and also some remembering. So let's follow up with reviewing. How did you do with writing out the steps for how to find a specific item in your home? The last couple of sessions, we've been talking about using very sequential and descriptive steps to help people understand what it is that you want or need or that you need to do as well. So our task was to give somebody specific instructions on how to locate something. We practiced this in our session verbally, and then your homework was to write it. So, how'd you do? It's a little bit harder than you think, I bet. Although it's natural environment for you, you're used to your home, obviously, and how to tell somebody with the words, but then when you have to put it down into writing, I hope that gave you a little bit more clarity as to how specific and how sequential your instructions were. So I encourage you to keep thinking about using very specific, very descriptive instructions or descriptions when you are asking someone to do something or trying to explain something to somebody. We also talked last week about drinking water and the value of drinking water for your brain. If we are not properly hydrated, it can increase our difficulties or cause difficulties concentrating. It can cause confusion and it can bring more fatigue, which in turn makes it more difficult to concentrate. We also talked about drinking the majority of your liquids earlier in the day because this goes into helping another brain healthy attribute, which is adequate sleep. If we drink too much later in the day, then we're obviously going to be up overnight using the bathroom, which interferes with our sleep. So, make it a habit to think about how much water you're drinking. Keep a cup of water or a water bottle nearby at all times so that it's easier to remember to drink, and it's also just a visual cue to keep you thinking about drinking water and making your brain more healthy. As I said in the intro, we haven't done very much movement lately, so I thought today would be a good day to move. And we all know, you've heard me say many times, and you've seen it on TV as well, that if we are moving our body, we are keeping the blood flow and oxygen going, which is good for our brain. We've also heard the saying that what is good for the heart is good for the brain, and that means exercise. So let's get busy. So we're going to start today with just a simple march, okay? So want to work on marching. I had to fix myself because I started going on the same arm and same leg. But what we want to do is work on going opposite arm, opposite leg, okay? So we can start with slowing it down, just increasing our movements a little bit and getting that body warmed up. It's a nice chilly day today anyways, for me as I'm recording this. And it looks like the forecast is supposed to be pretty comfortable all through the week. So we're warming up, nice and slow and purposeful movements here. Just a good march. So the good thing about marching is obviously it's moving the upper body and the lower body. But the other thing is that we're working the opposite sides of the body from top to bottom. So we're getting the whole body, the whole brain involved in this movement. Okay, now let's go ahead and increase that rate a little bit. Just get that blood flowing, oxygen flowing to the brain. We're going to do some long-term memory and some immediate short-term memory work today. So we want to make sure we're awake. Very good. Just keep moving. Nice job. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a little bit more of a cognitive component to this as well. So let's start with jumping jack arms. So if you have bad shoulders, that's okay. We can still do these exercises here with our jumping jack arms without moving our shoulders as much. So we're either here with our jumping jack arms or here with full range of those arms. Getting those shoulders warmed up, making that heart rate go even higher. Now, the cognitive component, you say, yes, I did. So now what we're doing is we're going to add our marching back in. So this isn't how we normally march. So we're making our brain think of something different. So as you can see, I kind of stutter stepped there. I haven't had my morning caffeine yet. So kind of getting going here. So we're doing jumping jack arms, which would make me want to go out to the side, right? I typically would do my jumping jacks here, but now I'm moving my arms like a jumping jack and making my legs march. Very good. So a little bit of a cognitive task. Doing two different exercise movements at the same time. Very good. Keep going. If you get stuck, just go back to those jumping jack arms or start with the march. Don't use the arms. Very good. Once you get those legs going and you feel pretty confident, add in the arms. See which way it feels easier to add in. Very good. So I'd encourage you to try to do that at home, taking a normal exercise such as marching. I'm kind of winded already. And then add in your jumping jack arms. So again, what that's doing is challenging the brain to do two different, more long-term memory tasks, but switching them up, blending them together. So keep working on that skill over the next week. So Tuesday, September 29th, is National Coffee Day. And I just said I haven't had my morning coffee yet. So maybe that's what's going on here. I need to really be focused on getting that coffee. So I thought it would be fun for us today to do a little bit of long-term memory, thinking and talking and discussing about, and maybe even learning some new things about coffee. In this picture, you can see we've got our coffee pot, we've got our cup of coffee, we have some magazines, a book, and an iPad. Excuse me. So I thought that what I liked about this picture was that it's showing how we can use coffee, how we can use a traditional thing of drinking coffee to help us be more productive, to help us enjoy things in life, such as reading or drawing or connecting on an iPad or a phone with other people. So we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but just thinking about what is it that you like to do when you drink your coffee? Is it the first thing you do in the morning? Do you set your coffee pot to go off on its own so it's ready when you wake up? What is it what's your routine to have with coffee? Okay. So as I mentioned, we are going to be doing some long-term memory. So we're going to do a task called Remember That, and it will be geared around coffee. And we're going to be looking at and relying on maybe some emotions and some sensory components as we look at different types of coffee from the present and the past and how that makes you feel. How does it trigger a memory? Can you smell the coffee? Can you taste the coffee without actually tasting it right now live? So we'll be relying on these aspects of our brain. And then we're also going to do a little bit of association work and some short-term memory. So here are some of the slogans for some companies. So we've got good to the last drop. So what I want you to do is just take a minute and we'll think and see if we can come up with what brand is it that their line is good to the last drop. Okay, does it bring back any memories? Does it spark something? Can you see a commercial? Can you see the can or the container that has that type of coffee that says good to the last drop? Okay, so there's your first one. The next one is it's happiness in a cup. Have you heard that phrase? It's happiness in a cup. The third one we have is the best part of waking up is blank in your cup. Okay, so can you think of which brand that is? What brand goes in that fill in the blank? And again, can you remember any of the commercials? Do you remember what that coffee can looks like? The fourth one we have is coffee at its best. Okay, coffee at its best. And grab a paper and pencil, jot these down as well. I should have told you to do that at the beginning, but it's not too late. Grab some paper and pen, write these down. I'll also put these in the messenger for Thursday so that you can try to check yourself, or you can also call someone up, share these with family or friends who maybe don't get to see this, and quiz them. Work on their short-term and long-term memory. The next one is fill it to the rim with blank. Okay, fill it to the rim with blank. I think this is probably my favorite one, although when I hear these things, the jingle that I sang all last night when I was preparing this was the best part of waking up one. But I think my favorite, most powerful one is life is short, stay awake for it. I really like that slogan. Life is short, stay awake for it. And the last one is everything you love about coffee. Everything you love about coffee. So, were you able to come up with some of the names of these different types of coffees? If not, that's okay. Now, let's look at the different types. So, these do not line up specifically. It's kind of like a matching game here. Okay, so what about brim decaffeinated coffee? Do you remember hearing about brim decaffeinated coffee? So I have to say I am a total foo-foo coffee drinker. I really don't care for the bitterness of coffee. I like sugar and cream and chocolate and caramel and all of those other sweet things with a little bit of coffee. So the concept of drinking decaffeinated coffee doesn't really work for me because I've never been one who's truly acquired the taste of coffee. But I know a lot of people love that taste, including my husband, who can drink plain espresso 4 shots at a time. It's crazy. Anyways, I digress. The next brand is Folgers. Okay, so just take a second, and as you read these names, or I read them to you, see if you can get that visual long-term memory picture in your head of what these different coffees looked like. The next is Caribou Coffee, Maxwell House, Dunkin' Donuts coffee, Sanka coffee, and Nescafe. All right, so we're going to see how you do. Take a second and see if you can match them up. Again, these do not line up correctly right now. It's a matching opportunity. All right. No problem if you didn't get those all. We're going to go through these. So good to the last drop. Which one was that? Maxwell House. Okay, and so when you look at this one, so what we're going to do now is just take a minute to look at these, and we're going to work on some associations and some visual memories to create so that we can then work on some short-term memory. So when I look at this one, good to the last drop, I picture that little coffee cup on the side of the word house that has the drop of coffee coming out. So Maxwell House with the coffee cup drop. Okay. So, and then thinking of the blue. Okay. It's happiness in a cup. How many of you got this one? Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. So most people think of the Dunkin' Donuts obviously for the donuts, but they also have a lot of specialty coffees. And now you can buy them in the store and everywhere else. So happiness in a cup. So what can you process within this picture to help you think about the happiness in a cup slogan? Well, maybe you could think about it being the cup that you see there with the Dunkin' Donuts logo is a face, and it's a smiling face. Maybe the two D's are the eyes, and then the bottom of the cup is a smile. Maybe it's hair on top of the head that's the steam coming out. But try to process. Think of a way to make an association to help you remember happiness in a cup for Dunkin' Donuts. Okay? So take a second to look at these two slogans and pictures, and we'll work on some short-term memory now. Okay, so the next one that we have is the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. You're going to have to ignore that Nescafe at the bottom. I apologize, my animations were mixed up here. So the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. So this is the one that I was mentioning, that I hear that jingle in my head over and over and over again. But the other thing I always think of is the red, and I don't know, exactly why. Maybe it's because I love red, but I just always remember Folgers with the red. The other thing I remember about Folgers is the commercials. They had some really touching commercials that always struck me. So they did an amazing job with marketing on this as far as I'm concerned. So take a second to think about that. Maybe associating the red with the Folgers, and maybe the waking up part. You can think about how the mountains in this picture, the sun is coming up. So that's your waking up with the red Folgers in your cup. Okay. Then the next one here is coffee at its best, and that's your Nescafe. So I don't know that I really have any associations to help you with this one. So I'm going to leave this one up to you. Take a second to look at it and see what can you picture, what association can you make to help you remember Nescafe, coffee at its best. Maybe it's a long-term memory. Maybe this is what your grandmother drank and you always loved your grandma the best. So what is it that helps you remember coffee at its best? All right, and then our next one we have is fill it to the rim with brim. Okay. So I also remember this coffee can. I think about the two different colors, the yellow and the orange. And then just, of course, it being a decaffeinated one. I also tend to remember this from camping with my grandparents as well. I don't know why. I don't think anyone in my family ever drank decaffeinated coffee, but maybe there was a time. But for some reason, this is in my head when I think about camping. And maybe it's because of the colors. I don't know. But anyways, the other thing you can think about here, obviously, is they did a good job with the rhyming. So the rim and brim. So fill it to the rim with brim. All right. As I mentioned, this is my favorite one as far as the cleverness of it. Life is short. Stay awake for it. Okay, so do you know which one this is? Caribou coffee. So caribou coffee isn't one that I think a lot of people relate to, but we do have a caribou coffee here. It's in the Hy-Vee store. And I do really like their different coffees as well. And again, they also sell their coffee for brew at home. So life is short, stay awake for it. And I think, the thing that maybe you can remember with this one is just the fact that, we have one here in Manhattan. It is one that's not as common, but you have to stay awake to watch for it. So everything you love about coffee, that's your next slogan. Can you think of which one that is? Sanka. So I love the name Sanka. I think it's such a fun name. So everything you love about coffee. The thing that helps me remember this one is that I think Sanka sounds like thank ya. And so I want to thank you for everything that I love. So that's kind of my association, my play on words there to help me remember Sanka. So what is it that you can come up with to help you remember any of these three or all of these three? All right, take a second and process these. Again, you can use visual memory as well. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is go backwards here and we're going to review them one more time, okay? So I want you to think about those associations: visual, long-term memory, sensory, associations. What techniques, what things did you use to help you be able to remember these different slogans to the coffee brand? So again, that first one was good to the last drop. And the answer was Maxwell House. Right. Good. The next one is it's happiness in a cup. All right. So this might have been one that you weren't as familiar with. Were you able to use an association to help you recall it? If you remember, my association was excuse me, the way the cup looked, and the cup had two letters on it, the two D's for Dunkin' Donuts. All right, so this one I'm going to go here. We're going to work backwards on this one. So the Nescafe, this was the one that I said I kind of struggled with coming up with something to help me remember. But were you able to think of something from your own memories or creating a new visual association that helps you remember the motto for this one? Whoops, sorry about that. Oh no, I'm going backwards too much. So it's coffee at its best. All right, so here we go. Okay, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm messing that up. So we can't test the last one, but I have a feeling you all remembered this one anyways because of the great marketing that they've done. So the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. All right, so, and then our last ones, we had fill it to the rim with brim. So obviously this one gives you the name in it, but do you remember what color the can was? And do you remember what color the letters were written? Okay, so let's see how well you remember that. Okay, good. So you've got the yellow and the orange. And then the other special thing about it is that it is decaffeinated. Okay, so again, this was my favorite. Life is short. Stay awake for it. Which one is it? It's the caribou coffee. And the last one, everything you love about coffee. Do you remember the name? And how did you remember the name? Sanka. Yes. So Sanka coffee, everything you love about coffee. So I hope you enjoyed that. Excuse me. It was just, again, an opportunity to look at some long-term memories, reflecting a little bit, and then also to use and work on some new short-term memory strategies, looking at visuals, looking at associations, and also you can use some of your long-term memories to help you recall something shortly. So, good strategies to practice. So our walk down memory lane today, I want you to grab your journal or your log and write about some coffee time memory. What do you think about when you think about having coffee? Do you have special rituals around coffee? Is it something that you only do on certain days of the week? Writing about coffee time memory or memories will take you down that walk of memory lane. The other thing that I like about this one is that it helps you to practice gratitude. So if we are thinking about memories of enjoying coffee, or maybe we read our first book while drinking coffee. I know that people didn't used to drink coffee at a younger age like they do now. But even still, maybe you finished your first novel. Maybe you wrote your first journal article. Maybe you studied for all of your college exams. Maybe this is how you got through the day of, meetings or cleaning house or, whatever it might be. But what are those memories that help you think back to those times in your life that brought you such joy, and sitting with a cup of coffee and enjoying that day? So exercising your brain, we are just talking again, as we always do, about how your brain loves to be challenged. So show your brain some love this week by writing or talking about products from your past. So again, kind of going along with what we did today, looking at a lot of different coffees and thinking about what they were in the past and what they are presently. So what are some products maybe that you used to use that you don't use anymore? Write about. What did you do with it? How did you use it? What was it made of? Writing, talking, sharing, exploring, that is all a great way to challenge your brain as you look back into things from your past. So I'd love to hear some of your stories about some products from the past. So if you'd like to share, go ahead and turn those in to Michelle at the front desk, or just send me an email, jot it down. But I think it would be really fun to hear about some of your memories and your writing of products from the past. So until next time, practice your physical distancing, wear your mask, stay connected with others, maybe over a cup of coffee, and try something new. So maybe you haven't made a certain type. Maybe you've never made French press coffee. Maybe try making that. There's another kind of coffee that's called whipped coffee now. Figure out how to make whipped coffee. Try something new. So it's during explore, cheers, enjoy, and drink your coffee. Happy National Coffee Week. Well, it's National Coffee Day, but you could watch